Hey everybody, welcome to Wahoos Weekly. It's your weekly in-depth look at the Pensacola Blue Wahoos on the field and off. With Charlie Hobert, I'm Erik Bremer. Thanks for joining us. The Wahoos are officially after the All-Star break. We're back for the home stretch. There are, counting this week, 8 weeks remaining in the regular season. 4 at home, 4 on the road, and the Blue Wahoos this week are welcoming in the Columbus Clingstones, the AA affiliate of the Atlanta Braves. It's a team, Charlie, that we've seen plenty over the course of this season, and we better get used to it because we're going to see them a couple more times, and they might very well be Pensacola's stiffest competition for that second half playoff spot.
Yeah, we're getting down to it, right? The second half of the season started a while ago, but now we're into the home stretch. And you want to play the best teams because you want to know where you stand in this division and in this league. Now, depending on who wins that top spot, if Biloxi takes the top spot again, you just got to play second. So yeah, it's going to be good to see Columbus repeatedly get used to who they have throwing, who they have hitting. And if you can ride that wave and maybe win, just a little over 50% of those games, you're in a good spot.
Blue Wahoos played well against the Clingstones in the first half, but the Clingstones in the first half, we get the sense, are going to look a little bit different from the Clingstones we'll see moving forward. In the first half, Columbus had a really tough offensive season. Pretty much spots 6 through 9 in their order seemed like automatic outs, but a lot of help coming from High A Rome is what we were told when we ended the first half, and it seems that that has now come to fruition. The Rome Emperors are now the Columbus Clingstones, and they might have a little bit more punch in that lineup.
Yeah, the Wahoos will answer right back. They've had a lot of help from High A Beloit towards the end of the first half and now into the second half of the season. We've talked about him extensively. Cam Canarella, of course, Brandon Compton. Now just Juan Matthews has been absolutely kind of an unsung guy playing third base and switch hitting. Whatever they're going to bring up, the Wahoos have the firepower to match. Eliezer Dishmay on the pitching side, he's had some very high highs and some very low lows, but those highs are as good as any pitcher we've seen in the Southern League. And you got more talent down there with guys like Aiden May, who you hope to see at some point this year. Pensacola's ready to punch back, whether they have him on the team now or not.
Well, we also have the trade deadline approaching. This is the final week, second to last week of July. And at the end of July, teams are going to have to decide at the major league level whether they are buyers or sellers. The way the Marlins are playing, they might actually be buyers, and I don't think a lot of people outside the organization thought that would be the case heading into the year. There was plenty of internal belief that has borne out to be correct, but it's been a couple years now since the Blue Wahoos were actually in the position where their major league affiliate was buying at the deadline. You necessarily have to buy by trading away some of your prospect strength. We hope that if that's the case, that it won't hamstring the Blue Wahoos too much, but we've gotten so used to getting help at the deadline with Robbie Snelling, Jared Cerna coming over in 2024, and a couple other guys coming over in 2025, to say nothing of the off-season trade additions. 2023 was really the last time that we saw the Blue Wahoos lose players at the deadline. They lost Jake Eder, who ended up in the big leagues, but that is one thing that is just kind of hanging around in the air in the clubhouse, even though it's an unspoken thing. When you get to the trade deadline, whether you're in the majors or the minors, it becomes part of the conversation.
Yeah, we as baseball fans, of course, you love the trade deadline and the drama and the big names and the top prospects. But for the top prospects, this can be a very stressful time, especially if you are playing well and you are a highly regarded guy, because if the Marlins are a move away or a bat or an arm away, well, all of a sudden you got teams looking at guys like Dylan Lewis, and you got teams looking at guys like Fenwick Trimble, Carson Milbrandt at AAA. Obviously these are big names, and I'm not by any means saying that the Marlins have plans to get rid of these guys, but the baseball season's so tough. And now to think, well, I hope I don't have to relocate next week, can be a lot more. So you do want to think about these players and what's going on in their mental state and how mentally tough they have to be, not only to endure what is already a very tough and long season, but now with the idea that where you are going to live is not really up to you.
Yeah, if you do get traded, there is an element of flattery there, whereas clearly another organization liked your skill set, they wanted to bring you on board. But as good as our players are at tuning out the noise, I can tell you from past conversations I've had, well, if maybe someone's mom has Google alerts for their son's name and they find a mock trade article, then suddenly they tell their kid, and now that's all they can think about. It's just, there are some things that get lost in the shuffle that really have an impact on the players, but it is on these players to overcome that, just continue to focus on the goal, which is winning Blue Wahoos baseball games.
Yeah, I mean, and just to touch on it a little more, but like now with the internet, you mentioned like the Google name alerts. They might not even be the first person to find out, so now they're trying not to be paranoid, but they want to check in with their man or whatever it is. They gotta try and stay level-headed about it all, on top of trying to win these games. And right now, that is their top priority. Is you want to be on a winning team, you want to play well, but it's fun to be on a winning team, to be competing in the playoffs, going for championships. And so you do hope that they can. It's something they're going to have to learn. This is the job that they're in, and a large part of it is blocking out what other people have to say and the idea that you're going to end up somewhere. And I think they'll be able to do that.
Major League Baseball, for the benefit of the fans, has also changed the trade deadline to occur in the mid-afternoon. And the way that works is, as long as the paperwork is submitted in time, you'll sometimes see trades get filtered out after the deadline. And even though we haven't been through it yet, just prepping you, it's going to be a very eventful afternoon as we are all scrolling on social media, watching all those trades come in the hopes that if a trade is made, it'll help the Blue Wahoos, not hurt them.
You really hope, man. I mean, of course, Miami's thinking about Miami, right? And so whatever's going to get that club as deep as it can go, that's what they're going to be focusing on. But especially, I'm new here, and I've gotten to know some of these guys who've hung around for a few years now, and you have relationships with some of these guys, and you want what's best for them, but you don't want to see them leave the city because that's a buddy right there, and they don't want to leave their buddies. So it's exciting. It's exciting if nothing else.
Charlie, I give you my word, if we trade you, you'll find out from me.
Thank you.
Rather than finding out through the media. It's not going to be a Jeff Passan tweet.
No, I wouldn't want to hear it from anyone else.
Our guest this week is going to be Brendan Jones, Blue Wahoos outfielder, who's been with us since opening day. And Charlie is one of those guys who's been with us all season long. We've gotten to know Brendan a little bit. He's a gamer, man.
Oh my gosh, is he a gamer? He's someone who knows about trades. Came over from the Yankees with Dylan Lewis and Juan Matthews, and Dylan Hasso, of course. He's a baller. I mean, he is a baseball player, and I know it's like, well, yeah, obviously, but he's an athlete. You know what I mean? He is one of the best defenders I've seen live. He has found his power stroke in this season. He's gone through some injury things, but he's all in all kept it healthy. He's a great base runner, and he's a great guy. I mean, he's mature beyond his years. You can easily see him leading a clubhouse down the line. I know he's only been here half a season, but if he sticks around in Pensacola for a year or two, he's going to be a guy that players who just got there, players who have been there for years, are going to look to for leadership.
You can see in his skill set what the Marlins think they can build him into, because while you can teach someone to be a better base runner, you can't teach fast. Brendan already has that. But you can, maybe with a couple tweaks here and there, add power to the game, and that is what we have seen Brendan do. Hit more home runs than ever before, and if, again, you have even 15 home run power in his player profile, that's a big leaguer right there.
Yeah, man, with the defense added. I mean, he's a good base runner, like you mentioned, and oftentimes you figure, well, if I'm going to have power with a player, I might have to sacrifice some defense. That is not the case with Brendan Jones. If he can get those slap hitting average numbers back up again a little bit, even sacrifice a little power in the meantime, I don't even think that's a bad decision because of how much of a menace he is on the base paths. He's learning it all. He's figuring it out as he goes, and I'm just honored to be here while he does it.
Well, open wide and say ah when we come back. The pre-dental student, Brendan Jones, will be our guest here on Wahoos Weekly.
At A1 Automotive, we do it all kinds of repairs for all kinds of vehicles. We do AC repairs, we do suspensions, we do pre-purchase inspections. We'll diagnose your problem and get it fixed. Free brake inspection. We can provide financing for any work we do. Veteran-owned, military, and first responders discounts. A1 Automotive, 403 Beverly Parkway, Pensacola.
Gilmarine, your one-stop shop for all your boating needs. We offer a vast selection of parts, accessories, and electronics. Discover our range of used boats in every size, shape, and brand, all ready to get you on the water today. And we provide expert advice and top-notch customer service to ensure you have the best boating experience. We service all outboard, inboards, stern drives, jet drives, and personal watercraft. Our certified staff will get you back on the water. Visit Gilmarine at 3541 West Fairfield Drive, Pensacola.
Empire Truck Sales, located at 2255 West Detroit Boulevard in Pensacola, is your Freightliner, Western Star, Detroit Diesel, and Cummins dealer for Northwest Florida. Open 7 days a week, Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., Saturdays and Sundays, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., providing sales, service, and parts. Empire Truck Sales is also your Oasis dealer for Freightliner custom chassis RV and motorhome repairs. Running I-10 will get you in.
Nestled in the heart of Pensacola, Dorothy's is a one-of-a-kind, community-driven cocktail bar by Oasis, Florida, created to sustain vital HIV and STI care across the Florida Panhandle. Inspired by the Wizard of Oz, rooted in inclusion, and dripping with character, Dorothy's is a welcoming space with award-winning Oz-inspired cocktails, food by Steel Pony Diner, and an unmatched atmosphere. Join us 7 days a week in downtown Pensacola, located directly across from Maritime Park and the Blue Wahoos Stadium.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Wahoos Weekly. I'm Blue Wahoos broadcaster Erik Bremer, and our guest this week is Blue Wahoos outfielder Brendan Jones. Brendan, thanks for joining us.
Of course, thank you for having me on. Excited to be here.
It's been a fun year for you. You're one of the guys who's been with us from opening day to this point in the season. How has Pensacola treated you so far?
It's been good. It's been a lot of fun. It's a really good area to play minor league baseball. I kind of got to experience some other places, being with the Yankees and some different affiliates, and this is definitely kind of one of the best areas, I think, to be, with just stuff to do for the off day, fan support, and things like that. It's been awesome.
And proximity to family. When we go up to Tennessee, you've got family who can come and visit you. How cool has that been to be a little bit closer to them than you were maybe in the Yankees organization?
Yeah, it's been really good. I've got to kind of see a lot of different people in my family. Obviously, my parents and stuff, they would come up last year, but kind of even got to see some extended family and people like that have been able to come out and see games, which has been really awesome to kind of see people that haven't seen me play since high school or even before that.
They've seen you play, and they've seen you play well. You've hit 3 home runs in Chattanooga with family in attendance. You had your first ever multi-homer game in Chattanooga. And when we were up there in mid-May, not only did you have your sister and your parents, but you had your sister's entire softball team watching you. Tell me how that all came together.
Yeah, so it kind of worked out. My sister was playing in the, I guess what you would call the sub-state of their high school softball, and the team they were playing was in Chattanooga. It happened to be the day that we had a day game, and they played that evening. So her whole team was able to come that morning, and then I kind of reciprocated and went to their game later that evening. So yeah, that was really cool to kind of, for all those guys to get to experience that. And yeah, that was a lot of fun.
And her team didn't win, but she played well, right?
She did, yeah.
Right, that's all you can ask for.
Yeah, that's right.
So growing up in Tennessee, who was your major league team? Because that area is kind of up for grabs a little bit. You've got some Braves fans, you've got some Cardinals fans, you've got some Reds fans from back in the day. Who were you following?
Yeah, honestly, growing up wasn't a huge Major League Baseball fan. We grew up big Vanderbilt fans, and then Dansby Swanson went to the Braves, so then that kind of in turn became my team, the Braves. So if anybody, I followed the Braves the most. But yeah, kind of, I feel like from the South, like the college teams are really what a lot of people kind of are drawn to more. So I kind of grew up more of a college sports fan, and then some Vanderbilt players were playing for the Braves, so I kind of became a fan of them in turn.
Was it all baseball all the time, or were there other sports?
No, there were other sports. Yeah, we grew up huge football, basketball fans, and I grew up playing every sport you could think of at some point. So I played tennis when I was younger, played football, basketball, and baseball all the way through high school. So we grew up kind of, my parents encouraged me, and then we were obviously fans of kind of every sport, and I kind of played every sport that I could just to get the experience.
I feel like there's always room for the really fast guy, regardless of whatever sport you're playing.
For
right?
sure,
yeah.
For sure.
Okay, so at what point did baseball become a realistic path for you to get to the next level?
Yeah, I think the time period where I kind of really realized like baseball is what I want to do at the next level was probably right around 8th grade, going into my freshman year. I love football as well, but baseball is one of those sports where size wasn't as big of a factor, and I knew I'm a little bit smaller, and like you said, I could run and do things like that well, and that's when I really kind of dedicated myself to like that baseball is what I want to do at the next level. It started out as I just want to play at the next level of college, and then you get to college and things are kind of going well, and it's like, okay, well maybe the next level is possible. So that's kind of how it started, and kind of that 8th grade freshman year is when I really like, okay, this is what I want to do. Like I want to dedicate myself to this and see how good I can get.
I'm sure because of your size, you were underestimated by some people. Did you ever find that gave you added motivation, or were you not lacking in motivation to begin with?
I mean, I wouldn't say I was lacking, but I think that definitely kind of gave me the extra kick I needed. I remember playing on my 6th, 7th grade year. I kind of actually was really struggling baseball-wise. I was playing on a travel team, and one of the coaches had made a comment that like he never thought I would hit the ball hard because I was really small. So that was really kind of like, all right, like I want to prove you wrong. So I think it definitely gave me the extra motivation. Like I'm going to dedicate myself to eating right, trying to get bigger and stronger, and just seeing how good I can be.
At what point did your college path come into focus? I mean, I'm sure you were recruited by other programs. If Vanderbilt had come calling, I'm sure that would have been like the school, right? So how did you end up going where you ended up going?
Yeah, so the first school I actually talked to was Vanderbilt, kind of right after my freshman year. And then that sophomore high school season going into that summer is kind of when I really started to hear from some other teams. Really, Kansas State kind of came out of the blue. I didn't know much about them. Obviously, growing up in the South, I was playing in a tournament. We were facing a pitcher that they were actually scouting, and I had a really good day. Kind of got our hitting coach's card, and then from there, got in contact with him. I didn't want to close any doors, so I was like, I'm gonna go visit and see what it's about. And once I got to the campus and saw the town, I fell in love, and that's kind of where I knew I wanted to be.
What made you fall in love with it?
The people, the coaching staff, just the way that they really invested in you and seemed like they cared about you as a person and kind of how you developed as a baseball player, but also outside of life as a man. And then the town, I love the college town feel. Manhattan, Kansas, everybody there is a Kansas State Wildcat fan. And they show up to the games and the event. So I really thought all of that drew me to Kansas State.
Going back, I know everyone has a backup plan. I know your backup plan. Let's go on the wide shot and give the camera a nice smile and tell me what your backup plan was and why.
So yeah, my backup plan, I went to school for pre-dental. My dad's a dentist. He's got his own practice in White House. So I kind of was around it growing up, and I knew that if baseball didn't work out, that would be a viable career path and something that I might want to do. It definitely made for some hard tests and classes. But yeah, that was kind of my backup plan. Hopefully I don't end up having to go to that backup plan.
So everyone has genetics to some degree to thank for their teeth. Mm-hmm. But your dad literally has been in charge of your teeth pretty much from the moment you were born.
Yeah, he has.
And you have to be pretty happy with that.
Yeah, no doubt. He's taken care of me. It's been good. I've kind of also been sometimes his test dummy for things and stuff like that. But yeah, it's been cool to kind of grow up around that and see that.
Always keep that on the back burner. You never know when you're going to need it. Mm-hmm. But you did generate a lot of interest when it came to draft day. And eventually the Yankees decided they wanted you in their organization. Take me through that experience.
Yeah, it was a crazy experience. I think my team, we had some really high draft prospects, but I think really helped me out because our shortstop Culpepper, and then we had a pitcher Neighbors, who were kind of really highly sought after. So we had tons of scouts and stuff at everything, but obviously I wasn't the focus of a lot of that. And then kind of as I played well, started to hear more and more from teams. You don't really know what to expect. You kind of hear different stuff like, oh, it'll be, I heard all the way from 4th round to, we don't even have you turned in. So you go into draft day not even knowing what to expect. And then at the time, draft was 3 days. So the first 2 days I heard stuff, but, obviously wasn't drafted. So it was kind of like, okay, well, what's day 3 going to look like? And then I heard my name from the Yankees pretty quickly on day 3, and then that was really cool to be drafted by them and then get into that system.
You got into that system. They put a priority on winning, so you had some pretty important ball games right out of the chute with some competitive teams. How did your game translate to pro ball? A lot of people have struggles adjusting to that pro game, swinging a wood bat and dealing with the daily grind.
Yeah, it's definitely, the day-to-day of it is definitely, I think, the toughest part. I think I kind of brought some tools that were kind of valuable into the pro game. I was good defensively, I could run the bases, and then, I walked a lot and things like that. So then from there, it was kind of just honing my swing and some of the things like that. But I think a lot of the underlying stuff was really good and helped me kind of make the transition as easy as possible going into pro ball. Obviously, there's going to be bumps and valleys, but just trying to be able to work through that and work through the day-to-day grind that pro baseball is.
You're climbing the ladder, you're progressing through the Yankees system, and then in the offseason, you, along with a couple other teammates, end up getting shipped to the Marlins in a pretty significant trade. Now, it just so happens that a lot of those guys that you were traded with, you've been teammates with this year. But how has that transition gone?
Yeah, it's been a good transition. Obviously, being with the Yankees is kind of a thing in the back of your mind all the time. Is that they trade a lot of guys, and that's kind of a lot of guys' goal. Is there's not a lot of big league opportunity with the Yankees, but play well and then get traded. So going into the deadline, I kind of thought there was a possibility, and then it didn't happen, and then you kind of almost take a deep breath and forget about it. And then the off season, you're like, oh, I forgot it was a possibility in the off season. So that was kind of a surprise. But it was good. It was an easy transition. I know a few people that would kind of come over from the Yankees and had similar values and teaching methods and things like that to make the transition pretty easy. And then obviously coming over with Dylan and, both Dylans, and then Juan Matthews, and people I have some familiarity with, that was good too.
Obviously, the Marlins saw something in you and your existing skill set that they wanted to integrate into their organization. But I'm sure they also saw, as any organization does when they acquire a player, moldable clay. How can we change this or tweak this to get the best version of Brendan Jones? So, what, in your case, has been changed since you joined over?
Yeah, I think something they wanted to kind of do was try to tap into a little bit more of my power. I've always done a good job of pulling the ball in the air, so then kind of even improving on that and tapping into my power a little bit. I think it's something they've kind of had to focus on. And then defensively, kind of they actually saw some areas where I could improve, and with some of my reaction and first step and things like that. So that's something I think I've done a good job so far of improving and be able to make some pretty good plays this year.
You've played well in all three outfield positions. I would assume center field is your favorite, but maybe I shouldn't assume that. Where do you feel most comfortable?
Yeah, definitely center field. Center field is kind of where I played the most growing up. Played all in college, and then last year I was able to play all three positions, which was good. But yeah, I would say center field I'm the most comfortable at, but like you said, I feel comfortable playing all three positions and just go and get it.
One of the things that makes pull side power for a left-handed hitter like you challenging is that in Pensacola, it's very hard to hit it out to right field. And it's also very hard to track fly balls through the constant wind out there. So, playing at Blue Wahoo Stadium, how have you handled that with the artificial turf, the wind coming off the bay, and let's face it, a very hitter-unfriendly breeze coming off of right field?
Yeah, it's definitely tough. It can be a little bit frustrating. I was talking to actually one of my buddies yesterday about how the stadium I'm at isn't really susceptible to what I'm good at. But it's tough. The Marlins, they do a good job of, their main focus isn't the numbers that everybody sees on the board, but, they kind of keep their own underlying numbers and things like that. So I just kind of have to fall back on that and know that, what I'm doing is going to work in most parks. But then, yeah, I think it's also made me a better player. It makes you adaptable. You have to learn how, maybe the wind is blowing super hard in from right, so let me, go the other way and try different ways. And then obviously as an outfielder, it's tough. You got to learn how to play wind. And I feel like if you can play a good outfield in Pensacola, then, hopefully that should set you up to play a good outfield anywhere.
The Marlins are orienting their organization towards speed and stolen bases. You had no trouble with that even before you joined the Marlins organization, but it seems like it's become even more of a focus now in 2026 on this Blue Wahoos team. So what have you been doing to get the most out of your speed, given that you already have some pretty raw talent as well in that department?
Yeah, I think like you said, I've always had good speed, good instincts. I think Mason Sherrill, our first base coach who does our base running, he's done a really good job of scouting and things like that. So I feel really confident when I'm on base. I know what I'm looking for. Even the guys that are maybe quicker to home, I know kind of a tell that I can look for to get a good jump, things like that. So I think that's something that he's really helped me tap into that has made me kind of an even better base runner.
What are your goals for the remainder of the 2026 season? We've had Cam Canarella on the show, and he joined the Blue Wahoos in early June. So he's got maybe a different roadmap for what a successful season looks like. You began the year with us, and I'm sure you want to get to that next level. What are you hoping to do here in Pensacola to get up to AAA Jacksonville and beyond?
Yeah, I mean, I always, I don't like to set a lot of numerical goals, especially with hitting, where it's such a thing where you can do everything right and you get the result you're not looking for. Base running is something I always I want to get to 50 stolen bases again. I'd like to get to 60 if possible. We'll see. I mean, obviously, getting to 15 home runs would be awesome. But then, yeah, just I think improving every day, getting a little more consistent in the day-to-day, and kind of trying to eliminate some of the lulls. I think that's my goals going forward and how I'm hoping to finish the season.
This team as a whole is very steady as she goes. I mean, we've been around 500 pretty much the entire season after a slow start. You mentioned lulls. How do the Blue Wahoos avoid that lull in the dog days of summer as we get down towards the final weeks?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, especially, like you said, playing on turf. We're in Pensacola, it's really hot. So the weather can kind of drag on you, and obviously the season is dragging a little bit. But I mean, I think it's really just making your body a priority and kind of focusing on the task at hand every day, and not letting, what's coming up or what's in the past affect today, and taking it one day at a time.
How good is the clubhouse culture in this team in 2026?
It's awesome. It's been a really good clubhouse. A lot of fun guys to be around. I think the ping pong table has definitely added to team morale. So yeah, I mean, it's a fun clubhouse to be in. It's one of those where you want to get to the field early before your stuff to kind of be around the guys, and so it's a lot of fun.
Are you a better ping pong player or Catan player?
Definitely a ping pong player.
Okay.
Yeah,
and then,
I'm not a Catan guy.
I feel like you'd be pretty good at crosswords.
I am pretty good at crosswords. I do the daily crossword every day, and then ping pong table. Those are my two avenues where I spend the most time in the clubhouse.
And those are the three things that happen every day in the clubhouse that we can tell you about. So, Brendan, thanks for joining us.
Of course. Thank you guys for having me on.
Thank you for joining us on Wahoos Weekly.